Hey, welcome to Guitar Knobs, the guitars, gear, noise, and nonsense podcast, hosted today by these knobs.
Chris Graham.
Say it.
Jared Brandon.
And me, Todd Novak. Hey, how is everybody doing out there in the world, the guitar world, wherever you're at? We are glad you are listening. I was reminded earlier this week that I started talking about the show to somebody. They're like, I don't know what you're talking about. What is your show? And just for anybody that's tuning in for the first time, this is a show that we focus on everything guitar. We are guitar enthusiasts. We're not super pros. We're not in the biz per se, kind of ish, mostly not, right? We are musicians, not professional, but because we love to play in various forms. I'm a self-professed hack. Chris is pretty damn good. Jared is also pretty damn good. But interviews are a big deal here. They're a really big deal. This is not an interview episode. We have to take breaks in between some interviews. And right now, that's what we're doing. We want to follow up with something. But we do place a focus on people who are contributing to the guitar world in ways that may not always get the big giant spotlight. So boutique builders, boutique luthiers, contributors of various sorts, people who are in the recording, people who are in the professional playing. So that's what we kind of do. And we hope you like it if this is the first time you've heard it. And we're glad that you're continuing to listen if this is the second or 33rd time or fourth time that you've heard it. You look like you have something to say.
I have
Is that
nothing.
your just resting face?
That's my resting face.
You got, yeah.
It's my resting podcast face.
Yeah, you have like thug resting face. What's up?
That's because I have an underbite.
But you don't talk like an underbite.
I'm demonstrating my underbite.
Yeah. Okay.
It's significant.
So hopefully you guys out there are having a cool guitar week. We certainly did, and we'll get into that later. We're going to focus on this guitar show that we just went to and guitar shows in general. We're going to have a little discussion about that. I think there's some important things that we want to communicate. So let's get into what is going on in our guitar worlds this week. Jared.
Well, I've decided to get the old guitars out and...
What are you, Tom Sawyer or something? Well, I've decided to get
That had
old Tom Sawyer.
More of a Shawshank Redemption. Well,
Yeah, maybe not Tom. Tom Sawyer is about 12. Whatever. You know what I'm saying.
I like my Wills.
Listen, Hayseed, what's going on?
Okay. Well.
Andy didn't know, but it was his first.
Okay.
So I got my guitars out, and I think I did two of them last night. I actually started to work on them, like I said, my resolution the last time.
Mm-hmm.
And I got this. I have this mid-'90s Fender Plus. It's a Stratocaster, and the color of it is called Midnight Blue, but it's more of a purple. And man, it is just a beautiful color. One of my favorite colors on a guitar. So
Like Prince's motorcycle?
yeah, kind of like that. I don't know why, man, but I just like the color. So
Okay.
my eyes like it. So,
I'm wearing purple right now.
and I like it.
Thank you.
It's more of a violet, right?
Yeah,
But-
It's kinda maroon.
It's maroon.
yeah.
It's like wine.
It's more of a
colored.
manly purple.
Mauve.
Wine color. Nope.
Merlot.
Not.
Merlot.
Yeah.
I believe it's pronounced Merlot.
Oh my gosh. Go.
So one of the saddles, there's two little Allen set screws for the saddle to adjust the height, and one of them.
And this, which guitar is this?
This is a
Because we were so distracted.
mid-'90s Fender Stratocaster Plus.
Okay.
And the necks on those are my absolute favorite.
This is not the one that you sold at the guitar show.
That
This
is correct. That's not
That's
a plus.
different thing.
Sorry.
That was half Mexican, half not even
That was
American.
a Frankencaster.
It was, and it was nice.
Yeah.
And the guy who bought
back
it
to
loves
your,
it.
Back to your mid-90s.
Rusted set screw in the saddle.
I got a whole bag of those.
And I
Not
took
rusted. They're nice.
I took some oil and put a drop of oil in the rusted thing, and I kept messing around with it, and the thing wouldn't come loose. Got sick and tired of waiting, in which that is one of those things where you need patience. So don't do what I did at home, but I did take a Dremel and I ground that thing down.
My goodness.
Because I thought, well, this thing's so rusted, I'm just going to replace it anyway, so I may as well get it to where I want it in the meantime and order more. So I did that. It worked.
How are you going to get it out?
Well, it should be loose by now, because it was last night. The oil penetrates the rust in the metal, whatever. I don't know. It's just the way it works. So.
Okay.
So that's I'm having a really good time working on those guitars, and I'm
I
glad
love doing that. I swear, if I could do that every night, I would just be a happy guy.
Pretty relaxing, actually.
Yeah,
It is.
So I took your
now,
I don't want to say advice, but
okay,
you
you
I
can
took
say
your
advice.
idea
That
of
would
it.
prove that I had something helpful to say.
Well, you said you like doing it a lot, and I said, I'm just gonna dig into it, and then I found the hours were getting late, and I'm like, wow, I spent more time than I thought I would doing this. It's so fun. So take care of your guitars. It's fun.
So here's the question: what do you do while you're doing that? Like, are you listening to anything? Are you watching anything?
Last night I had some news coverage, John.
No, you said nudes. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you said nudes.
Well, I would have either of those two things on.
Okay.
So, or some music videos
Now,
or something.
see, news coverage would just make me break stuff. So
Right.
I can't.
Well, I didn't say what it was.
Chris, what do you listen to when you're working on, or do you watch? What do you do?
When I'm working on a guitar, it is silent. No music, no podcasts, just me and a guitar. And if I'm lucky, one of my sons just kind of hanging out with me, and they're 4 and 6.
Yeah.
And just today I worked on an electric guitar with my 4-year-old, and it was super fun.
Awesome. I like letting them get into it, and they're like, "Hey, you want to turn this screw?" And it's like, whoa, it's the biggest thing that's happened to them all day.
Absolutely. I
You want to
remember
use
being
this
that
really
young.
slow, handheld, tiny motorized screwdriver? It's like a gun.
I couldn't wait for my dad to open the case on his guitars
Yeah.
when he got them out.
Yeah.
I'd look through the case, look at some of the old stuff.
I like putting on like a live YouTube show, like a full length concert or something like that, and just kind of, because it's music, man.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing.
Oh, my
Really great. Chris, what's going on?
Several things. One, this is kind of fun and interesting. When I was in college, I think I might have mentioned this before, I came across for $150 a 1966 Fender Princeton Reverb blackface.
Okay, wait a minute. Wait a damn minute. That's a pretty sweet amp.
Yeah.
But, okay, you tell us about this, and then I want to know what else you're doing, because...
Well, I have several things I'm doing.
Okay, good.
This is just one of them.
Okay, good.
But there's an interesting nerd story about
Okay, give
it.
us a twist on this, because this is
Okay.
the ever-evolving...
I ordered a bias scout from tubes from the tubedepot.com. Tube Depot, and it helps you bias your amp. To bias your amp properly, you need to know your plate voltage and your current. And my current, I'd always look good. I'd been measuring that for years when I biased it, and
I mean, naturally.
And I found out that my plate voltage was 510 volts on a Princeton Reverb, which is approximately 100 more volts than it's supposed to have.
Uh-oh.
And this amp always has gone through power tubes a lot.
Oh.
And it turned out that some moron, years before I bought it, had put a VibroVerb power transformer in this Fender Princeton.
I like a vibroverb.
A VibroVerb is a very large amp, and a Princeton is a very small amp. And so I took it out, and I bought a new power transformer from Weber, and I installed it. And it's cool because the Weber power transformers, many of them can run on 120 volts or 125 volts, which is convenient because the original power transformers ran on between 105 and 117. So when you plug a vintage amp into the wall, you're getting too much voltage most of the time. So this new amp, I wired the ground switch to switch.
Hang on. I want you to re-say that part, because that is That's something that people are going, wait, what?
Okay.
I have a vintage amp. What did you say?
I know.
wasn't
I'm
listening.
acting like I know what he's
I
talking
wasn't listening
about.
because I was reading the bumper in front of me.
In the 1960s, depending on where you lived, there was about between 105 and 117 volts that came out of the wall. So when Fender made the amps, and this was even less in the 1950s, when Fender made the amps, they wired their power transformers to put out specific voltages that were a multiple, in most cases, and then sometimes a fraction of for your filament voltages of what came out of the wall. Now, over the years, the wall voltage has gone up. The electric companies have turned them up. My house is 122 volts on a good day, 123 on a bad day.
How are you measuring that?
The power supply in our studio has it says on the front of it how many volts are coming out of the wall.
Right, but most people don't have a power supply in their studio, in their home. So
Yeah, if you take a multimeter and stick it in the wall.
stick it in the socket.
Yeah.
Oof.
And you can, for like $3, you can buy a meter to stick into an outlet.
But it's safe to say, like, if your home's built in the, 80s or later?
It doesn't matter when it was built.
Oh.
It's what the electricity company is sending down the line.
Ah.
So, for example, a Fender Princeton, if I'm correct, needs 400, and the stock spec is 410 volts on the plate. But that's based on around 115 volts being multiplied through the transformer to bump it up to 410. If you put 422 volts into the front end of the transformer, it will bump it up to somewhere around 440, 430, 450, and your amp is not behaving the way that it did in 1960, if you have a 1960 amp, or 66 in my case. So it will burn through tubes faster. And in my case, because it had the wrong power transformer, which is a vintage, it was a 60s vibroverb power
You put
transformer.
that up on eBay or
I
something?
probably will. Someone at the guitar show has tried to buy it from me. And so your amp is running with too much voltage and has to be biased at a lower current to account for that. And anyways, so there are many things I've been doing. One of them was getting my amp to behave properly, and it is delightful now that I've done that.
That's cool. Excellent.
Indeed.
Man, well, boy, did we learn a lot right there.
But that, and I'm also building a clone of my amp out of an old Organ tube amp, 6V6s. And then I'm building a thin line Telecaster right now. So lots of fun stuff.
Cripes, overachieving bastard. All right. Let's see. What was I doing? Oh, right. This week, I started pulling apart my the Fender Custom with the it's Custom 2, and it has the twin
P90s.
Duncan P90s in it, because I was just like, you know what, I want to make that into a custom with the wide range at the neck and a Tele bridge pickup. That's what I need to do, because I bought it for a backup for my shows for my main Tele, but I really want a wide range at the neck, and that's the guitar to do it with.
That's going to be boomy.
Yeah, I think I should be able to do it. It should work out. I just got to make sure that, it might leave a hole or two exposed because of the pick guard. So I'm gonna have Pick Guardian hook me up and do a custom pick guard on it. But I'm thinking I might do like a gold pick guard on it. I think that would be pretty badass.
On that one, yeah, it would look pretty
Yeah,
cool.
it would look sweet.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, because it's a maple neck too.
He's got it, too.
Yeah,
He's got all sorts of goodies over there.
not gold anodized like the J Mascis Jazzmaster, which
Right.
looks awesome. Trust me, like I would love to have that guitar. I think those are really cool. But like the gold underspray and then the all clear pickguard,
Oh, yeah.
almost like kind of like a Gretschy pickguard. I think it looks pretty sweet.
Mm-hmm.
That's not me macking my lips. I was giddy upping. So there. But I've been really good about that, huh? Listeners, right?
Yeah, you showed
Listeners?
him, huh?
Yeah. Well, it wasn't about that. I took that into stride. I want to make sure I'm doing people right. Yeah. Okay. So, really, the other main reason I wanted that is because I really, really want to get one of Jared's wide range pickups in a guitar at my house instead of borrowing his. So that'll help me achieve that.
Yeah.
Damn it! I just did it.
Hey, if it's once or twice, who cares?
All right. Yeah.
Who's counting
perfect.
anyway?
I'm trying though. Okay. So that was real fun. Hope you all liked all that. This week, the three of us, Chris, Jared, and I, went to our local guitar show. Now, this is also at a time when NAMM is in full swing. So depending on when you're hearing this, NAMM probably would have been passed. So but NAMM's obviously a huge deal in the guitar world. And I was reflecting on like all the rigmarole and everybody saying, I'm looking on social and there's like just loads and loads of pictures, and I'm on a plane and I'm in the airport and look at our booth and and here's our badges, and it's really exciting, and it
makes me jealous.
I got it in my professional line of business, working at a advertising agency. I do that stuff and it's fun. I get it. But it also it was weird because we were sitting at we were at the show, and I was thinking about the juxtaposition between like that kind of show and the big NAMM show, right? And so I just wanted to have a discussion about that. Now, we had a booth. Jared had a booth. So Jared, you want to tell them about your little booth?
Well, yeah, sure. Yeah. Well, anyway, so as everybody knows, if you've been listening to a lot of podcasts, I build pickups. I have a pickup company, Brandon Wound, and I do as many shows as I can around Ohio. So I usually buy one or two tables, and I just build a bunch of pickups beforehand, and I try to sell them at the show. And it took me about, I would say, 4 shows to actually start selling product there, because people would walk by or they'd talk to me, and it took a while, but when it just took some pounding the pavement, and I do well there. But yeah, Columbus is probably my favorite show because I know so many people there, and I also go to shows maybe no more than 4 hours away, and there's Indianapolis, there's a few in Michigan that I'll go to, there's a Cincinnati show, but I would say the busiest and the most traction that I've ever seen has been at our local show, which is Columbus.
Yeah.
I mean, it was
packed.
Overly packed.
Absolutely packed. It was like to the point where it almost was like a
fire hazard.
Almost like it was definitely a fire hazard, but it was like almost a negative experience, because all I heard was people complaining about,
we don't have enough room.
I can't get through. I can't see anything. So on one hand, it's like, wow, the guitar world is in force. It's out here, and it's like, yes, this is great. But
it was overwhelming.
It was overwhelming.
It was somewhat frustrating for me at times, because when you'd have a gentleman just standing there, and he'd be talking to you about not pickups, and then you have other people trying to look, and they're sort of, and I can't interact with the could-be customers.
Yeah.
Because it was really frustrating.
Help out a little bit with that. I got my Johnny Sales thing on.
It was a good time, though.
Yeah, and regardless of like, okay, yeah, so ours was in Ohio, but the point that I just don't know how many people are aware of these things. I know that sounds like a crazy thing to say. However, I don't know, it must have been maybe only a year ago when I was like, holy crap, there's like a ton of shows in Ohio that I found on accident. And it just made me think, like, okay, well, in every state these are happening. So for us, there's what's the website? Guitar Shows Ohio Guitar Shows or something like that.
I think so.
Yeah, Chris had it up. And it lists all the shows of the year. While we were at that show, we were handed flyers for, hey, here's the next show, and here's the show after that, which we wouldn't have even known existed.
Right.
Really. So you have to be plugged into to that to get all the other information about everywhere else. So that just made me think, like, as a guitar player, as a guitar enthusiast, whether I'm young or old, how do I plug into my community, and how do I explore the outskirts of my community? You know, I think it's, you know, when we went up to Michigan, it's like, hey, we did a little road trip. We went to Michigan. We went to Guitar Show. That was a blast. I am looking forward to doing more around us for sure.
Indianapolis.
But so even if you do find those things, the experience is unique at each show, is, you know, very different. So point number one, I just wanted to point out, like, hey, everybody, you don't have to go to NAMM. You don't have to do it. I mean, if you can, that's great. And if for all the builders out there, like, that's really what it's for. But for everybody else, get out to your local guitar shows. I think it's important for the guitar world to do that. And we're going to talk about a little bit why, and I want to ask you guys about why. So I'm not talking the whole damn time. At this particular show, I think, well, Chris, give me your take as you're walking through the show. What was your like take on the show, with the understanding of, like, this doesn't have to be Ohio specific show. This is probably just about any show, right? Any guitar show.
Yeah. Well, for me, I was very overwhelmed at the number of people that were there. And, like, I'm not really a crowds person per se. I'm a people person, but not a crowds person. So it was definitely extremely interesting to meet the variety of people there, but also to just taking it all in. Like, it was one of those things where when I was there, I was like, I don't know if I like this. But then afterwards, the more I thought about it, the more I was very glad that I went, and for the experience and sort of the spectacle of, oh my gosh, I've never been in a room with 200 various vintage Fender amplifiers and 400 various vintage Gibsons, and, like, there was just so much variety. And it was cool to be like, oh, I've never touched one of those before. I've never seen one of those in real life. And so that was cool. It was interesting because some guys were, you know, doing, there was the guys next to us in the next booth over had a 1953 Fender Deluxe 5E3 that I was like, oh my gosh, that's like the number one or number two most historic amp of all time, a Tweed Fender Deluxe. It was just like, well, I've never seen one of these. I've always wanted
The guy selling pedals.
guys.
Yeah.
They sounded, and
They had to put a not for sale sign on that thing.
oh yeah,
And
because
before the show opened. I mean, because everybody clung to that thing like.
yeah, it's like one of the most desirable amps on the planet.
Yeah.
And I've never seen, and I might never ever see a real one ever again. So it was cool. It was a good experience.
Yeah, and then on the other side of us, the guy, he had a 61, a 62. He had another one. I can't remember. One was a single P90 pickup SG. I think it was P. So it was an early Les Paul Jr.
Yeah.
Regardless, it was like, that was a super crazy expensive guitar. But he had a couple other unique ones, and it's like everywhere you turn, there was like, it wasn't a catalog experience, you know. It's totally unique.
Yeah, a lot of character. It was not polished.
No, and there's a lot of characters too.
Oh yeah, a lot of people, a lot of smells.
A lot of smells.
Yeah, one thing that sticks out of my mind when you say characters is when the guitar show was over at the other facility, the Aladdin Shrine, and they tore it down because. Anyway, there was a gentleman there, and I've seen him at.
Because anyway.
Well, you know, it's Easton, so it's a mall area.
Whatever.
So nobody cares. There was an older gentleman that came to the show, and I've seen him about 3 different times. I've been about 7 or 8, 9 shows over there. And an older, thinner gentleman with gray hair would walk around in a jean skirt.
I really wish you hadn't said that, because now I can't.
Why not? I mean, I want to. And I never got to meet this.
That.
I want to meet this guy now because number one, I want to see what's going through. Like, what's this guy like that wears a jean skirt to a guitar show?
Yeah.
And am I as ballsy as he is to wear a jean skirt?
Well, if you took a closer look, you might find out. Hey. Anyways,
I am not lying.
Yeah.
I mean, that is.
No, I believe you.
That totally.
If I were going to wear a skirt, jeans are not the material I would opt for on the skirt. I would go for like something more flowing, a little more,
more
Yeah,
freedom.
a little chiffon or something.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Something that made me feel pretty.
so here, there's another aspect of it. So we're kind of breaking down just this show, representative of many. You have the neat thing about walking through these tables is like, okay, I'm guaranteed to probably see the guitar like I've always wanted, right? At least one of them, maybe 2 or 3. One of the previous show that we went to, I think it was last summer, the guys had like 3 broadcasters and 2 like 52 tellers. Crazy. I mean, these are like $30,000 guitars. He's like, go ahead and pick it up. And I was like, I don't want to touch things.
I know. Are you sure?
He's hoping you'll break it.
On the flip side, you got guys that are making like cutting board, guitar-shaped cutting boards. And then you have, Chris and I stumbled upon a table, and there was a little guy in the corner. And I mean, he wasn't a little person. He was just a guy in the corner, but the table was lit, whatever. And
four pedals for sale.
he had 4 pedals for sale. One of which both of us we admitted, like, I don't have a tube screamer. I've never really been interested in a tube screamer. Don't know why. Just, I think they're fine. Just never really wanted one.
My overdrive pedals need to be blue, not green.
So I have my overdrive pedals. He has overdrive pedals. And then we were both like, the guy saw us looking at his, and he instantly marked it down $20. Like, we didn't even open our mouths. And he's like, you know what? This one's
That's a mark of good negotiating. That
Yeah,
you can
and
get
I
them to
was like,
negotiate against themselves.
Suddenly, I really wanted a tube screamer. And so we kind of hemmed and hawed, and both of us were like, hey, I kind of want a tube screamer right now. Chris is like, yeah, man, me too. Anyways, the guy, he's like, hey, where'd you get your shirt? And I'm like, well, we're selling these over at the table over by Brandon. And he's, oh, yeah, I'll make my way over there. So I'm thinking I can potentially get a barter thing going here. So point being, you've got lifetime, probably shop owner, at least major collector, who's got 10 guitars that are all over, well over $2,500 each, like well over that. Historic. I mean, it looks like you're going through a museum, right? And then you get to 4-pedal table guy, followed up by. This was somebody went and scooped up all the ones out of the local used shop. Yeah, it's just a vast range of.
Don't leave out the fruit
stuff.
Guitar.
Yeah, this guy's carving up guitars that look like a basket of fruit. I mean,
I know him.
Apparently, a lot of people know. A lot of people are talking about him.
Billy Reinhardt. He is an artist.
Yeah,
I see those every show.
Yep.
That was one of the highlights of the show for me was Billy Reinhardt came with this guy, Johnny Borchard. Johnny Borchard's from Athens, Ohio, and is probably quite easily the best guitar player in Athens, Ohio. And this dude was like, his collection in his basement when I was in college was unbelievable. And I'll never forget going over, and he had a 1966 Fender Princeton Reverb like I did, but his had been taken care of by really good techs. And
I thought you were going to say by like a fruit carver or something.
No.
Like, oh, no.
No. Like Johnny is just a wealth of information. He's brilliant. Yeah. And it was really fun to get to see him there and talk about it and apologize for being a stupid youth when we used to hang out. And
I think that buying an amp at a guitar show is kind of a weird thing. I know that sounds, but there's amps all over the place. There's tons and tons of amps. The idea of testing out an amp in a place where there's a million amps being tested out just seemed, it's just kind of like one of those weird things. Like, how do I do this? And there was a guy testing a what do you have? It was a Marshall
valve state right behind.
Well, no,
us.
but before the valve state, he had another. I think it was a 900, and he was testing this thing out. This guy had this 900, and it had like $500 price tag on it or something. The guy was like, "This is too good to be true. I know it is. I know it is." And they're like, "No, man, just try it out." So he plugs it in, and like the pots were garbage. It
was bad.
Oh, it was terrible. It was really bad, and I was like, "That's the main thing you're selling here, dude."
Yeah.
That's
when you take it apart and you work it with the contact cleaner.
Well, yeah. But the point of it being like that, if that's the showpiece that you're bringing out, you should at least tell the person like, "Hey, the pots are totally scratchy. You're going to need to replace all the pots."
Yeah.
Just be straight,
Testing out amps at a guitar show, it's touchy because I've been to a lot of guitar shows being a vendor, and when you have them pointed towards your table and they just keep testing and they don't stop testing, you can't talk to the person you're trying to deal with. It's really difficult. And I learned that not by experiencing that first, but by being that guy, because I'd bring an amp and a guitar to test or whatever, and I had my amp pointed towards the table of probably one of the bigger vendors, and he always brings the best vintage cool guitars.
Yeah.
And I got a piece of his mind once, and ever since I did, I've always noticed that, and now it gets on my nerves more when amps are pointed towards my table.
Yeah.
But that's just a little vendor point of view for you.
I get it. I get you.
But
yeah.
By the way, I'm good friends with this guy now.
That's good. That's a touching story.
Oh.
So another interesting aspect of this, you got all the varieties, and I saw a huge gap in equipment there. Loads of amps, loads of crap guitars. Which, hey, crap guitars are fun to buy too. Bring them up. Bring lots more crap guitars, because we want to spend our money at these shows, and it's like if you leave the show and you haven't spent money, you kind of feel bad a little bit.
I did feel bad. I didn't spend any money.
Yeah, I did.
I should have bought at least like a neck or something.
But so there's loads of like guitars that like there's no way I can pay for. Loads of crap guitars, loads of amps, and loads of like strange things in the industry.
And a lot of guitars that were outrageously overpriced.
Oh, yeah.
Like maybe even like a multiple of what their appropriate price was supposed to be.
There's definitely like retail prices on some of these things.
Yeah, well, that they don't expect to get that right. I mean,
Well, yeah, but don't start there.
Oh, I know it, man.
Like just, I don't know. It's off-putting, and it makes you just like, I don't even want to talk to you. If like you can't even be realistic about like,
exactly.
Look, I'm not going to pay what I would pay at Guitar Center or some other large chain music equipment store at a local guitar show. Man, this is mental. I'm not going to do that.
Guitar Center did that to us though, because the price of all this stuff did go down when internet and guitars, the big box store, shoved its way into the industry. And because of their bulk buying abilities, they could offer everything at a lower price. And the brick and mortar mom and pop shops, they're still, hey man, I got to start high because, I'm trying to make money to keep my store open, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
So I get it. I understand it. But in this day and age, you have to compete with everybody else. That's just the way it is.
So another big thing that was lacking is there was a decided absence of boutique luthiers. There's a handful of them, and there's some really great ones, but I know there's more out there. I know there's more local. So we need more boutique luthiers out there. We also need way more. look, the pedal industry in the guitar world is gonzo. Absolutely gonzo. You could fill a giant 3-inch phone book with as many pedal builders out there. And I'm not knocking it. I love it. I think it's great. Why aren't you at the show? Why aren't you at the show in your own backyard? Sell on the internet. That's great. Go to NAMM. That's awesome. Furnish those around you, because those are the people that are going to prophesize more than anybody.
They see you all the time anyway.
Yeah, they're going to be like, yeah, man, I got Johnny's pedals. Johnny's pedals are great. I'm going to go on the internet and tell everybody how great Johnny's pedals are. Yeah. I want to see more of that there. I want more of everything.
Right, we all do.
We got everything else out there, but what do you guys think about that?
Well, as far as more boutique stuff, I agree. I would love to see a lot more local. I don't want to say handmade, but more
local to wherever you're at. If you live in
within
Colorado,
4 or 5 hours,
like, hey, Colorado builders, you should go there.
You're right, but middle of the road stuff that you didn't see, I'd love to see more of that too, because that's the stuff I'm interested in. And what else would I like to see more of?
I think, let me jump in there with the local thing.
Jump in, Chris.
I think what would be more interesting is more local people at a guitar store show, and maybe that's just our guitar show had less kind of local builders. But to me, the essence, if you're at a guitar show, maybe you're a jazz guy or maybe you're a folk guy, but it's mostly a rock thing.
Yeah,
and I feel like what rock is authenticity. That's what makes rock appealing. Is that it's like, wow, this is real, and it's not manufactured. And I think one of the things that is appealing about older rock is it's less manufactured than newer rock. You listen to like Creedence Clearwater Revival or AC/DC or Led Zeppelin, and there's an authenticity there that you don't see in modern rock. And I feel like that there's a connection between authenticity and buying local.
Yeah, that's fair.
To say, hey, I use
I would say imperfection is a huge key of that too.
Yeah, but to be like, well, I use the pedal from the pedal builder that lives, in the next town over. There's something much more inherently rock and roll than I bought my pedal on Amazon from Boss or something like that.
100%. You're way more apt to actually like it. You will actually have an affinity for that thing.
Yeah.
You will probably develop a relationship with that person in some way. Look, that's how we got a hold of Jared. That's exactly how we got a hold of Jared. And everybody else that we've had on the show, like, I would consider them a friend now. So, like, those things happen. Continue.
Yeah, so I feel like one of the things that's cool about classic rock and music in general is that it's very regional. Historically speaking, the blues really came out of a very specific part of the world, Mississippi River Delta, and Southern rock really came out of, specific
all
parts
around there.
Yeah, all around there, and specifically in they talk about it, and something they got the Swampers, and we all did what we could do. Huh? I don't know. There's
Florida.
They're from Florida. That's Leonard Skinner.
Leonard
Skinner, Sweet Home Alabama.
Yes, but they talk about the studio that's in
the Hell. What they call it? They call it the Hell Room or something like the Hell House.
You guys are screaming at your speakers right now or headphones listening to us.
It was the Hell House. It was out in the middle of nowhere where they used to practice. It didn't have air conditioning.
Yeah. Well, there's I don't know. So getting back to my point, like. Music, I think great music is inherently regional. Something magical happens in a local region, and people all hook up together, and they're into the same thing, and it's unique. And then it breaks out of that.
That's a Minnesota scene. That's the Portland scene. That's the Brooklyn scene.
Grunge came out of Seattle. There's something inherently rad about local stuff, about a local kind of cohesive gelling of the music community. And I think with gear, it's the same thing, or at least it should be, or could be in its best case scenario of, all those kids from Madison, Wisconsin, all all really like X, Y, and Z guitars
Yep.
that Joe Bob makes up in Madison, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's rock and roll.
Yeah, I would agree. I would 100% agree with that. 100%.
And that's why I'm buying some Brandon Mom pickups.
Thank you.
So I just got to make the note, like, we have other pickup builders coming on too. So we will not be shoving Brandon.
I'm looking
pickups
forward to
on the
that
show.
because I'll be able to be a
Yeah, I
little
think
more outgoing with them.
You got about 3 lined up for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another
Okay,
thing,
so go ahead.
the guitar show, I think it's important for people interested in it, even if you can't play yet and you think you might want to play, go to a guitar show and look what's out there. And even beginners. I wish I had gone to guitar shows when I was a kid. I wish my dad.
Totally.
Me too.
The only thing I got to do was go to the guitar shop with my dad when he needed to buy something because he was
Yeah.
a busy man and whatnot. But even just going to the guitar shop itself back before the big box stores, it was so awesome just to look at all the guitars lined up on the racks and what's this and what's that and that's a cool color, yada yada. There's something to be said for guitar shows. It's
Going to a guitar
just
store
fantastic.
for the average person. Look, I've been playing a long time. I still feel strangely I guess I could say intimidated, like going to a large name store of whatever you want to call it. Because it's I don't know. It's like I don't want to touch anything. It's a very alien experience, which is really messed up because it should be like the most welcoming, the most friendly experience ever, and it's anything but that. And I don't know why. And I know loads of people. We talk about that often. It's like you go in and you're like, "Hey man, can I help you?" You're like, "No. I'm just really I want to be like, yeah, I want to play everything up here."
Well, I think let me talk to that. My impression of going to a store whose name I won't use the real name. I'll use let's call them Sitar Genter.
Okay.
And you go there, and I feel like when you go to this Sitar Genter place, it's
Yeah.
sort of like going to the gym, and
Yeah.
everyone's sort of like, "Check out my biceps, dude. 99.
That's not how you do
100.
And there's always somebody just
That guy
just
doesn't know how to
wailing
do
on the
that.
guitar too in the background.
Yeah,
They-
and-
they're really fast.
You pick up a
shredding.
guitar, and the guy across the room from you picks up another guitar, and you kind of make eye contact, like, "Let's do this."
Yeah,
I'm
that
gonna
doesn't
play.
happen to me. I honestly, I don't even. If I can avoid playing them, I do.
Well, and I think that's why I try to avoid playing them too. Is there's this sort of like, "Sup?
Yeah, it's like
you want to hear the
Judgment
intro to
City, dude.
Thunderstruck? I'm gonna tear this up right now."
It is Judgment City when
Yeah.
you go to now. In contrast, and this is my point. In contrast, your local guitar show is real. It's all real people. It's not people who are just like, dude, I can't wait to get out of here. I gotta go. I want to go to the movies, or I want to, it's
Truth,
like,
yeah.
This is what their passion is. It's not. It's more than their job. And
Well,
that's
yeah.
a big difference. So
There-
you can walk around and you can go to each table and everybody will gladly welcome you with a smile, a handshake. Hey, what are you into? What do you play? What do you like? What do you look like? Oh, me too. I got one of those. I had one of those when I was 15. It's like you can build an instant relationship with every single table if you allow yourself to.
They're taken out of their everyday thing, and they're excited to get down there and to set up. And they have a lot invested in that guitar show. It costs money to rent that table. It takes time to set your table up, and they want to talk to you. I mean, go to the guitar show. It's awesome.
Funny.
I'm sorry, I'm running
That's
out
a
of
buzz-
gas.
Funny side note: the exception to this story
I'm running out of gas.
is I met a kid at Sitar Genter
Yep.
one time that I became friends with, who worked in the pro audio section, and this kid didn't have that sort of like, "Oh, I hate my job. I just don't like being here." He was so genuine and so kind and so interested in helping me. And then lo and behold, he eventually joined a band called House of Heroes, and then to replace their drummer. And then he left that band of House of Heroes, and then he formed a new band with a guy, and the band's name is called 21 Pilots. and Grammy nominations. They're like one of the biggest names in rock right now.
Yeah.
Guitar Center.
Yeah.
He's in my phone as
Okay,
Guitar
and
Center Josh.
Look, let me just say, I am absolutely not saying that categorically everybody that works at Sitar Genter is like a burnout or like a completely disinterested soul or judging. I'm not saying that. I've had some experiences where I've actually been like, yeah, you know, I don't know, I want this or that, and I've found someone on the other side who's been genuinely interested.
Yeah, for
actually
sure.
came to a gig, so they're there. I am just saying, like, generally speaking, there is an air of. I don't know what the word exactly is. I don't know if it's judgment. I don't know if it's uncomfortability.
It's not their fault. It's not the people that work at Sitar Genter's fault at all. There's something inherently soul-sucking about working at a big box place. And whether that's Sitar Genter or Dome...
You going to buy that? No?
Dome
Okay, buy.
Heapot.
You know?
Okay.
Well, yeah.
Now we're getting crazy.
When I was growing up, I was used to going into the guitar shop, and I knew the guy. You knew the person who worked there,
right?
And you had a relationship with him. When you go to the big box store, you don't know the person there, and you are intimidated. You don't feel welcome as much as you do as the other. So you're instantly comparing that.
I think if you go there enough, you can overcome that.
Sure,
but part of, I think one thing that is lacking there that you kind of get. So we've got a string of stores in the Midwest called Music Go Round. I love going to Music Go Round.
They're always nice.
It's kind of like a mini guitar show, or like it's like a big Craigslist inside a big store.
Yeah,
right. It's used stuff, but they're local guys. They're musicians. They like gear. They're selling gear, and you can talk to them. And if you go in enough, then they recognize you. And that's how those things start. Getting back to the point of, because there aren't all of those, smaller shops anymore. There just aren't as many. Those connections are harder and harder to find. If you're buying online, you're certainly not going to make it. If you are going to a major retailer, you probably won't get that same thing, because it's not hey, let's hang around and jibber jabber. It's like, if you're going to buy that, cool, let's buy it. If not, I got to move on, right?
Yeah.
Going to the shows is important, because that is arguably the last big human connection that can actually keep that kind of idea and spirit going.
Community.
Yeah. It's a micro community. It's a micro community. I took a picture and I put it up on the Facebook page, and I did, it was a panorama view, and I'm like, I took it and I was like, wow, this is cool. It's really big. I was like, wait a minute. These are all people exactly like me who are like, look at all these guitars. This is awesome. I can't wait to talk to you about which one do I want? Which one can I have? What can I buy? It's like every single person in there is thinking the same thing. Rarely are you in the same place as that many people, unless it's like a sports event or something, or maybe a concert, where you are all single-mindedly going like bonkers over the thing that's there.
What's cool to me is sometimes if I'm looking for something specific, like a certain cover that has a certain marking on it, like for instance, a early 70s Gibson embossed cover. Yeah, pickup cover. I'm sorry, guys. Pickup cover.
The ones that say like Gibson USA on them or something like that?
That's right. Yeah. Or it'll just say Gibson.
Just Gibson.
It is so fun to try to find it there.
Yeah.
There's people there looking for random rare things, and it's really cool to hear what they're looking for.
Yeah.
Because they'll ask you, hey, have you seen a Zubadubadibadid? And you're like, oh, yeah, man. It's about 5 tables down. I saw it. You better get it because he was, it was cheap. That kind of thing's fun, man.
Yeah.
It's scavenger hunt.
I wonder outside of our country if they're it's so weird. It's like it's a world and we're all people and there are things. Like, are there local guitar shows in Europe, in the UK, in Australia?
Boy, wouldn't that be fun to go to?
Oh my gosh, a local guitar show in another country would be awesome.
Yeah, I wonder how much the stuff would be compared to, here in America, though.
It would probably be very inexpensive. The U.S. dollar is crazy powerful right now. It's hurting my business.
If we used our money, but if they use their money,
Yeah.
Because I think the American-made stuff that's manufactured here, they'll just ask more because they'll say, "Well, I got this from America. We paid the fees."
You'd be getting stuff from people that have collected it. See, that's the other thing is like half of what's at the guitar show isn't somebody who's actually made it. It's somebody who's collected this stuff.
Right.
Yeah. So it is. I mean, it's a swap meet. That's what it is. But it's a single like passion product swap meet.
Now let me give you a little bit of inside information.
Give it to me.
There are vendors out there that come to guitar shows that they own a big guitar store in their area, and they go to guitar shows to buy.
Yeah.
They buy, and they
that dude bought the one from you. Like that was so weird. It's like we were sitting there. How many guitars do you think are out there? Stratocasters.
Millions.
Like, no, I mean at the show.
Oh, a lot of them.
A couple hundred, anyways.
Yeah,
right. A couple hundred Stratocasters, and he walks up to your booth, looks behind you, and says, "Is that your Stratocaster?" Which was completely out of view.
Right.
And you said, "Yeah, it's not for sale." And guess what? You sold it.
Because I knew him. I knew he's a really good dude, and he appreciated. It was a guitar that I'd shared here on the Guitar Knobs with the crazy bird's eye maple.
It's the one that he's talked about over for the last several episodes. Yeah,
and it just
sold
looks so
site.
cool.
Bang. Took less than 30 seconds.
This dude was in love with it instantly, and because I appreciated the way he loved it, I sold it to him, and he gave me a nice price for it. I was very happy.
Love the way you love it.
I love it.
I was jealous. I thought about that guitar several times and thought, man, I wish I bought that.
Oh man,
Yeah, if we
he
would have known
loved
that's
it,
how
man.
much you were selling for
But
it.
there
which we
are
won't
there are
disclose right
vendors
now.
that get to that show. There are private VIP type people like George Gruen.
They call him whales.
Well, George Gruen has known to come to these shows, and he gets in early, and they buy for their own stores. So a lot of business is getting done before the doors open to the public.
Yeah.
That's one of the better things that I like.
That's why I like going with you, because I can get in.
Get in early and get the good stuff.
I saw some guys that they would see someone walk in with a guitar case
Yep.
and corner them before they got into the show and say, "What do you got?
Yep.
Let me see it."
Because what guitar, if you've been around the business for years and know your vintage, you can spot a vintage guitar case a mile away.
Sure.
And people
You can
will
also
swarm
spot-
to them before they even get into the building.
You can also spot what's sure to be crap inside one too. This one guy he came up to actually the table next to us, and he was looking at I think it was a 62 SG,
Nice.
and he's like, "I've got 2 guitars. I will trade you for that one." The guy's like, well, I got to see this now. And he looks across and he goes, "No." He didn't even open. Didn't even want to see it. Didn't even want to see it.
Because they know.
Because he could tell. He was like, whatever's in there's crap.
No.
There's no way I'm trading it for
A
this.
62 SG, anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 any day.
So I guess our point to everyone is, we won't beat the crap out of this, but find out where your local shows are. Find out where the less local shows are. When we're saying local, that doesn't necessarily mean it has to be in your actual city. Just it's worth an hour drive. It's worth a 2-hour drive.
If you are, and I mean this in the nicest possible way, nerdy enough to still be listening to our podcast, you would love a guitar show.
Yeah,
if
you
been.
haven't been, you have to go. It is going to be the way that you plug yourself into a community that depends on everybody plugging into it, quite frankly.
And if you hang out at a guitar show long enough towards the end of the actual hours, you could most likely get a better deal than if you went earlier, because guys are there to sell.
Yeah.
They want to sell their stuff.
Yeah. So anyways, go on the internet, find out where your local shows are, go to the shows, buy a couple things. You don't have to go buy a vintage instrument. You know, you don't have to worry about that. You can be somebody who's starting out with a very low budget and walk out. Like I bought I got it right here. This is what I got. You know what that means? It's a cool pedal. So I got a little. I got the Tube Screamer kind of, you know, and the little light inside
one.
of me, and I was like, oh, maybe I want one of these. And then the guy we found who had this on his table, I'm like, hey, that's a mini Tube Screamer. I hadn't seen one in person, and I picked it up, and I'm like, dude, this thing's built like a tank. I mean, this is a solid pedal. Some of the mini size pedals you get, you're like, right? But this thing is a beast, and I was like, I have to have it, and I got a killer deal on it. Killer deal. It's killer. And we did some research on this. Chris, how does this pedal stack up against the other Tube Screamers?
Apparently, if you bought a full-size Tube Screamer and a mini Tube Screamer, they would be identical, except one takes a battery and is much bigger, and one doesn't and is much smaller.
Space saver.
Space
Yeah.
saver.
It's super mini too. It's not even the full height of a normal pedal.
I'm a huge fan of the shrinkization of guitar pedals.
I like them.
You couldn't get small
need
ones
to have them.
10 years
I like
ago.
small ones.
Now I'm a big person though. I mean, I wear size 14 shoes.
Yeah.
Like I
You
can't
could do-
imagine a
but
whole
the clicker's
thing
the same
of
size.
minis.
The clicker's the same size.
I would be like turning on pedals on and off
You
like
just gotta
3 at a
leave
time
a
with
little
one.
bit more space. I mean, I think going over the board and saying like all my pedals got to be minis.
No.
Whatever. That floats your boat. That's
I
fine.
think that would be rad. I used to tour with
The stagger.
about 40-pound pedal board, not
Yeah.
including the case.
Yeah.
So the idea of like a tiny that I could have like a 4-inch by 18-inch pedal board.
Here's the thing, just really quickly on the minis, and then we'll leave it. I think, and I want to know what you think. I think if you're talking about like especially utility pedals, you know what? Make all my utility pedals mini. I'll be happy. Let me have like the bigger ones. That's like, you know, the ones that mods and modulation and you know, fancy overdrives and reverbs and stuff like that. Yeah, give me the bigger ones. That's fine. I don't care. But if I can not waste my board space on like little stuff, or big stuff, and make it little, that's cool.
But you know what I'm talking about as far as, you know, performance. You don't want to step on 3 of those at a time, right?
You just got to spread them out. You have to account for your foot size. The average person is not going to have a problem. You're not the average person. All right, let's get to our top
real big.
4. Top 4. And based on our topic du jour, it is going to be, what did we find that we absolutely had to have if we had a giant wad of money in our pocket at the last show? Jared, go.
Okay, so I had a chance to walk around, and I went to a table of some good friends of mine, DeLay's Guitar Repair, and they had brought 2 minivan full of cool guitars that they make, and then some vintage guitars, and some Les Paul conversions, and that he's well known for doing. But the guitar that stuck out that he had, and frankly, it stuck out of the whole show that I wish that I could buy, was a 1954 Fender Stratocaster. And I know you're not a big Stratocaster fan, but what I found very interesting on this particular Stratocaster, number one, it was factory refinished at one time, and the paint on it was funky. It was candy apple red, and it was all just dilapidated and just old. And I think it was
original paint.
It was Fender. It was a Fender had repainted it at some point. I think back in the 50s. I mean, it was a 54, so it could have been in the late 50s, 60s, whatever. At least back that far.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this thing was old and grungy, and the fretboard was dirty, and it was awesome. And the frets on it were huge. The neck was kind of resembling one of my Strat Plus necks. And I was
Yeah.
like, man, this thing feels like a Strat Plus. It's awesome. So that's my favorite.
How much
neck on
was
the
that?
Strat, guys. You know what? I don't know, but I guarantee it was over $9,000 or $10,000.
Yeah.
I guarantee it. 2 out of the 3 pickups were bad on it too. And he said, hey man, I'm going to send you these pickups to probably all 3 to be rewound. And I was so excited. I'm like, please let me rewind.
Oh, that's
these.
cool.
But didn't happen. He sold it as it was. I didn't realize he was going to, it was for sale because it was there, but gosh, I didn't think someone would buy it, and someone bought it.
Man, can you imagine rolling into a guitar show with 10 grand in cash in your pocket?
Guys do it.
Jeez.
George Groom. Some people are there with purses full of cash to buy.
Wow.
I am not one of those people. I am not one of them. But that guitar, I wish I could, because it felt awesome. It didn't feel like an everyday boring Stratocaster. It had loads of character.
Wow.
And it's hard to explain over audio, but if you saw it and held it, you'd know what I was talking about. That is my top 4.
My top 4, I saw a Gibson ES330, and that's basically the semi-hollow body, double cutaway, huge kind of BB King style, but with P90s. And when I lived in Athens, Ohio, when I was in my early 20s, there was a guy that had a 60s ES330, and he would let me go over to his studio, the studio that I worked at, and I would just go over and play it. Like, I'd go over on like a Friday night by myself and just play it for like 6 hours. And it was awesome. And I would love, it was a cherry, it was a red, see-through finish. I would love to have an ES330 someday.
Yes.
P90 soap
we
bar.
both were drooling over that one.
Indeed.
Very good.
That was terrible.
That was drool.
Okay, well, I think a gentleman was actually trying to purchase it at the time, so I didn't get intimately familiar with it. But it was the only one that I really saw that caught my eye. I saw a couple of other, everybody knows I like a double cutaway. And this guy had the TV yellow, around the 61, because it was the dual P90s, Gibson Les Paul, and it was beautiful. And I would really, really, really love to have a guitar like that. Doesn't have to be vintage. I just want the shape. I'll take that if I'm gonna go make one. And we've talked about, builds and stuff, like that's what I would really want to have something like that.
A Firebird.
No.
The Gibson double cutaway.
You were right
Les
here
Paul.
while I said all that.
I know. I'm so sorry. I don't know why I said Firebird.
Pizza. He's just going. The whole time I'm talking, I'm like, yeah, it's a double. He's like, pizza.
Yeah.
The Firebird has 0 cutaways, right?
This is true.
Well, it's an offset.
It kind of has. Yeah, it's an offset.
So no. So
You want to borrow my...
Thank you for joining us. I was talking about the Gibson Les Paul Jr. around a 1961-ish dual P90 TV yellow double cutaway. Beautiful.
You can borrow mine again if you want.
I do want to borrow that one again.
That's fine.
Actually, while you're taking care of my Gibson custom.
Yeah.
Or not, yeah.
Your Fender Squire custom, right?
No, the other one.
Okay.
Not the Gibson, the Epiphone, sorry. Yeah. I was just talking about a
Same
guitar
thing,
that
right?
I don't have. The one that I want, the black Les Paul,
Yeah.
like the Black Beauty, but the Epiphone version.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, okay. Blibbity blobbity. Blue. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for paying attention, listening, for continuing to be supporters of the show. We really appreciate all the emails and all the comments that you give us. I read through every single one. I would love to hear from you. Please shoot us a note. Go to our website and do that. And all that information's coming right up. But in the meantime, subscribe!
The last podcast, you took out my "yer." You took it out on purpose because you faded out on it.
I'll leave it in this time.
But I didn't do it.
Well, that's it for these knobs. Please visit us at our website at theguitarknobs.com for episodes, news, and guest profiles. You can get all social with us on our Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/guitarknobs. Give us a tweet at guitar_knobs. And check out our gallery on Instagram at guitarknobs. No spaces on that one.